Welcome back to Emily Talks To. I just had a great interview with Cassidy Hallman, who is a celebrity chef who's really just like been through the trenches. You know, he paid his dues. And when he was explaining kind of the ladder of, you know, working your way to the top in restaurants, I could not help but think about Ratatouille. I mean, when he said saucier, bye, picturing a little rat inside of a man's hat. Oh, she's rhyming. Anyway, I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode. He also gives us some tips that we, you know, simpletons can use to elevate our at-home cooking. So buckle in, buy yourself a leisure hydration beverage, baby. Eat Petros 10 for 10% off. In this economy, we can use that. But most importantly, welcome to Emily Talks To. All right, y'all.
All right.
I am jazzed. We have a very fun guest today. Honestly, the thing that comes to my mind first is his mashed potatoes. They are so fucked up, and that's also not like a sneaky word for like anything. I'm literally meaning his mashed potatoes. I dream about them probably once a quarter. So we have Cassidy Hallman today. He is a celebrity chef. He's a connoisseur of all things food, and he's hot, and he's in like kind of a monochrome outfit today that's really giving us the looks. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
My pleasure to be here.
I'm jazzed. I have a lot of questions for you.
All right.
So we're just going to jump right into it.
Okay. Excellent.
I want to know what you were like as a kid. Because I just want to say now, you are like so calm and collected. You kind of just like float through life, in my opinion. And you're so chill. And I want to know, were you like that as a kid, or were you kind of like a little cantankerous one?
That's funny that you mentioned that, because I hear that from a lot of people, especially my time living in New York. It was like, you're from California.
Yeah.
And I never understood why people would say that, but after hearing it over and over, it definitely makes me understand my personality. And,
yeah.
As a kid, I was definitely on more of the shy side, but, you know, I feel like I've definitely come into my own after high school, I would say.
Totally.
And, you know, growing up, I grew up in San Diego, in California. So my folks were they met in Hawaii. My mom was at the University of Hawaii.
Okay.
My father was an oceanographer / surfer. So it's kind of like a really good love story.
Okay.
You know? And then they got together, moved to San Diego, had my brother, myself, and then my sister. And
so there's 5 of you total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But growing up, you know, such a good childhood. San Diego is just a great place to grow up.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was definitely like a beach baby. Was at the beach surfing. I personally grew up skateboarding, so that was kind of like my thing.
Okay. Okay.
And then that really like put me into a lot of different things, you know, music genres, wanting to be different, you know, in general, but also like being very active. And I think that competitiveness is like really instilled in me in terms of my cooking as well.
I feel like you have to be competitive to be a chef.
Yeah, you know, I think it's like at a certain point you know your abilities, but you're always striving to get better.
Right.
And that's what I love about cooking. It's just, you know, there's no end to it. You know, you can just keep learning.
Yeah, yeah. So then who did you look up to as a kid?
You know, my mom is definitely a strong woman.
Okay.
So she raised us like pretty much on her own, to be honest. So, you know, I definitely look at my mom as like inspiration. I feel like I work hard because of her.
Right.
And, you know, yeah, I'd say she's a big inspiration.
We love Mom. Were there any like celebrities or like, I'm wondering what kind of brought you into this world? Like, were you a little chef as a kid?
No, you know, actually, I mean, I've always loved cooking, but I would say I attribute a huge portion of it to my grandmother.
Okay.
on my mom's side. So my mom's Japanese, and then my father is mutt.
Okay.
You know, European American. So
Okay.
you know, my grandma growing up would cook a lot of Japanese food.
Wow.
And I was always like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, being American, well, Japanese American, growing up in California, it was like, you know, you have a nice array of different cuisines, but
Right.
I don't know, I always gravitated towards Japanese cuisine.
Hmm.
And
So
so
then at what point I'm assuming you went to culinary school.
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
that when you're like 18?
Yeah. So I got out of high school, and, you know, my best friend at the time, his mom was like, you know, what are you guys going to do? And, you know, we kind of didn't have a plan. I was never really like that studious. So college really was like,
Not the vibe.
not the vibe.
Mm-mm.
And then she was like, you guys should go to culinary school and have like a cooking show or something. And I was like, you know, we looked at each other, and I was like, I like cooking.
Yeah.
I love food. So we checked out this school in San Diego, the San Diego Culinary Institute.
Okay.
And we ended up just going. And then from there, it was kind of like a thing to do, but also we always knew we'd have a job too. And, you know, cooking at that time wasn't like celebrity chef situation.
Right.
You know, it was a lot of housewives in the classes, and just career changers,
Okay.
people of that nature. Probably had like maybe 15 people in the class. And, you know, back then, and even now, it's very much the premise of culinary school is to learn the basics, you know, so safety, sanitation, making a fruit tart, things of that nature, like properly cutting vegetables. And you know, at the time I was like, this isn't that fun. It's not creative. You know, I'm not making like crazy dishes, but I look back on it now, and those are like the key fundamentals, which I definitely train my staff to do.
Right,
and like,
right.
I see it in how important it is.
So then is it when you work in restaurants, is that where you really get like the juicy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you left culinary school and then went into restaurants.
Yeah, you know,
In San Diego?
No, it was I was very fortunate. So I think I'm just a lucky person
Okay.
in general. But my brother had moved from San Diego to San Francisco, and he was like, Cass, this is an amazing city. You know, back then it was prime for, you know, skateboarding, just very liberal. It wasn't like, you know, it was cheaper at the time too.
Shocking.
Yeah, and a lot of friends of mine had moved there as well, and they had such a good culinary scene where it just made sense. It
Right.
was a smooth transition. It wasn't too far. And so I moved to San Francisco, and, you know, I probably staged at every restaurant.
Wait, what's staged?
So to stage is like a trail, basically.
Okay.
So you'll apprentice at a restaurant for free. And,
For free.
And learn the trade. Yeah, so you.
How do you make money? Do you
Yeah.
just not?
I mean, you have to kind of have a little cushion
Okay.
at the moment, but
Okay.
you know, the trail doesn't last for forever. So you'll end up getting paid.
It's like your internship.
Exactly.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's a week, but you know, it's a good way for them to feel you out, and for you to also see if it's a good place where you want to be.
Right, right.
So,
And there are a lot of politics in restaurants, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think you notice it as a cook. You know, from a brigade standpoint, you know, you'll start as a prep cook,
Okay.
you'll work your way up to a line cook, and then on the line you'll have a lot of different stations. And so like from saucier to fish to meat to saute and whatnot. And then you'll move up to like sous chef, chef de cuisine, and then executive chef. And on those tiers, you learn more about the politics.
Okay,
you
that's where
know,
things get a little spicy.
and the financials, if you will.
Okay, because I know a guy who, I don't know if he was a chef or a cook at a Michelin restaurant in New York. Granted, he is cuckoo bananas. And he said that he used to like fuck up people's dishes, like to fuck them over.
Really?
He would like toss them on the ground. And I'm like, is that a you thing? Or is that like,
You're saying to the cooks he would do that?
yeah, it's like to sabotage.
Yeah, you know, that era was definitely, it was common.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
But how does that help him?
Well, I think from a brigade standpoint, you know, as a cook, you're always trying to move up.
Okay.
Right? You want to show you're a chef or just the team, like, you're better, you know, and you're like moving up faster. And it sounds harsh, but like in those situations, if the guy next to you is like better, you know, sabotage will come into play for that bad character.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I've seen it, definitely.
Damn. There's something so horny about being in that atmosphere. Like, I feel like the tensions are high. Everyone's on uppers. Everyone's like fighting. Everyone's angry at each other. You're creating something. Like, is that the fantasy, or is that not what it's like at all?
You know, I think over the years, it's definitely not been glamorized, or it's been glamorized throughout the whole time. But
Okay.
I think it's definitely diminished over time.
Because of like rules and laws and people getting in trouble. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, from a corporate standpoint, it's like it's not tolerated anymore, and it's
Right.
not cute. You know, before I think it was a behind the scenes thing, and you know, it was definitely you don't see it, you don't say anything.
Wow.
But in the kitchen, like, you're ever present, so you know you're around it. It's hot, like you're saying. You know, it's busy.
Did anyone ever try to like fuck you over? Did anyone ever scream at you?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
have you left
totally. I've
crying
had
before?
Things thrown at me.
No.
Like, yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's not like uncommon for sure.
It seems just utterly lawless, and everyone's just in the restaurant, like minding their own business. Little do they know, you got a copper pan thrown at your head, like inches away.
Yeah. Wow. But you know, the one place I can recall where it was just hectic, but I loved it too, was Boulet,
Okay.
which is a restaurant that was in Tribeca. Funny, well, not funny enough, but sad enough, like, Boulet just passed away.
Oh no.
Like this week, if not last week. And, you know, it got me to start thinking, like, of all the memories that I'd spent there. And the restaurant is so nostalgic. You know, at the time it had 2 Michelin stars. It was an institution, if you will, you know, kind of like Danielle or EMP or Jean-Georges.
Damn,
all
you
of the
got to
best
work there?
chefs who I have worked with, you know, worked there at one point. And when I moved from San Francisco to New York, you know, I did the same. I staged at a lot of restaurants to try and figure out, like, where do I want to be?
Right.
You know, and I remember going down Duane and Reed, which are the streets. I was riding my bike. I had, like, I don't know, a fixie at that time. And it was just like, oh, let me check this out.
Yeah.
But from the outside, the facade is like these windows that you can peek through, and you see this stunning kitchen, you know, with the copper pots hanging,
Right.
everything stainless steel, chefs in all
Vaulted
white,
ceilings.
you know,
They're like,
Brigard,
yeah.
French blue aprons. And it's just like, oh shit, like, this is legit.
Yeah.
Like, I need to be here. Wow. And sure enough, I talked to the CDC, and he was like, all right, come back tomorrow. And like,
Wait, CDC, not like the Center
chef
of
de
Disease.
cuisine,
Okay.
who's kind of like the guy in charge.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
He runs the restaurant. And, you know, I spent a good amount of time there. I had such good relationships with people, got into fights in that restaurant.
Wow.
Like, you know, seeing so many celebrities and so forth. But it was a place where, like you're saying, it was hectic.
Right.
You know, and we would turn and burn like 65 cooks a month just because they couldn't handle it, you know. And that same level of like wanting to move up was ever present,
Right.
for sure.
Right. Is everyone on uppers then? Like, how do you cope?
I mean, you know, at that point, I was really young. Like, there wasn't a lot of older heads, like,
You just have
that
the
could hack
zest for
it.
life.
Yeah, you're just like, you know, you get in at 10 a.m., you leave like after 12, and then you go to a bar and like have drinks with your coworkers or whoever, and then you just do it all over again.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah.
like,
Do you
by
have
the
burnout?
Do I have burnout?
Or like, do people burn out? Like, do you
Oh,
just
yeah,
reach a
yeah.
point where you're like, my body can't do this anymore?
I mean, nowadays, like, you have to have some sort of routine, you know, or some type of relaxation. I think there's a lot of people who do burn out, for
Okay.
sure. But, you know, I tend to take care of myself, and I always have. Like,
wow.
but yeah, it's very common in the industry.
Yeah. Because, like, I mean, the lifestyle aside, I feel like even your hours being in the restaurant, it's just obliterating your back.
Yeah,
And, like,
yeah.
you're
Back
on your
problems.
feet.
Ooh.
Yeah. You're probably just constantly dehydrated, hungry, sweating. That's what it's like. Like, there's something so feral about it, like carnal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's weird, but at the same time, it's very unhealthy.
Right.
I will say that, but you don't overeat because you're just so busy.
Yeah.
And then you tend to be like always on your feet because you're just used to it. And that's why I think New York is like the center capital of like the culinary industry, is because it's just that place in nature too. You go to New York and everybody's busy.
Go. Yeah.
Go. Then you come to California and it's kind of like, okay, you know how to balance. It's chill. You can go surf or like, it's not the same.
Or is that also indicative of like when you work in restaurants in LA, like of that caliber? Is there a different energy to it?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't worked in restaurants in LA.
Okay.
At that level, moving back to California after spending time in New York and Europe and Japan, I basically started my own company and then got into more of the private chefing, catering and things of that nature. So
yeah.
But I can imagine the restaurant industry being very much the same here.
Okay.
Busy and.
There's kind of this like sadistic quality, I feel like, to people who, hold on, poor mic. Hold on, okay, sorry, Cassidy's mic was just really not having it, but we're back. We're back. We're going to get into your journey into private chefing, but chefing, is that the right word? Chiffonading?
Sure.
Okay.
Chefing.
I have worked in restaurants many years. Now, on the like host, waitress, bartender, bottle girl side of it.
That would explain your charisma and your
mental illness, all of that. Yep. So when I was on that end of it, there was always like a restaurant romance. And it was always an age inappropriate, situation. There was one where I was working at a bar as like a waitress, and the chef, who was also like a lizard connoisseur, like he had all these reptiles that he would host like birthday parties with. He would always try to make out with me when I was working there. Mind you, he was probably 65 and I was like 20. And I'll never forget, he locked me in the like walk-in freezer with him.
Okay.
And like cornered me.
So you're stuck.
Stuck with fucking lizard man.
Oh man.
And I just feel like that's the energy. Does that transcend also into the kitchen? Like, are there romances that happen?
I mean, you've seen it on the news and in stories like so often. And, to be honest, Does it happen? Absolutely. Is it in every kitchen? No. Like, I think now it's not tolerated, for sure. And there's definitely more lawsuits and things of that nature. But, the restaurant's very free-flowing in terms of the type of personalities that work there. Right? And I love that because you're not going to get just your corporate 9-to-5er working there. You're going to have some eclectic people there.
Right.
And with that comes those type of situations. Some people can tolerate it and others are just like, whoa, this is not for me.
Wow.
But yeah, it definitely is a common thing.
Well, I also feel like because your hours are so all over the place, like it would be nice to find someone who shares those same hours.
Sure.
Like you can't date someone who has a typical 9-to-5 when you're in that.
I mean, you can, but it's a hard thing. Absolutely.
Just another stressor.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like you said, you moved back to LA. You started your own company. It's Lomas Country Club?
Yeah. We're in the process of changing the name right now.
Okay.
But, the premise for the company was we had started it during COVID, and we wanted to do great dinners. out of our house. And we had a really nice place in the Hollywood Hills, perfect setting, like outdoors, where we could host up to 16 people. We would do a 10-course tasting menu.
Wow.
And it was great. It was fun. Curate a playlist and, like, you know, invite people, do the testing and everything. But, you know, people were searching for that during that
100%.
time, you know. And
Are they not anymore?
I think it's still searching for it, absolutely.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
you know, we kind of evolved into more catering and other aspects, private cooking as well. So,
Got it.
you know, that kind of, it still exists, but it's a little bit less now.
Okay.
And so hence the name Country Club. We kind of felt like that was like a quirky thing.
Yeah.
And then now we're going to be calling it the Lomas Culinary Concepts.
Oh, amazing.
So-
Oh, because you can keep the two C's.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
smart.
And Lomas actually has a funny story behind it. I loved, like, the SNL skit with Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and David Spade, where they're like the chicks in the cafeteria. Do you remember that one? Well, Chris Farley's like eating the French fries, and then I think it was David Spade was like, you know, I thought you were on a diet. Like, why are you eating so many French fries? And
Right.
he goes, lay off me, I'm starving.
Yep. In
And
his like really deep voice.
Yeah.
Yep. Mhm.
So I always thought lay off me, I'm starving is such a cool acronym.
Wait, that's amazing.
So Lomas is lay off me, I'm starving.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Huh. Love that.
And I liked the word combination. It looked good.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Very chic.
Mhm.
So then how did you find yourself working with celebrities? Like what, did you just find a recruiter or like how did that start?
Yeah, I mean, back then I started working as a private chef in 2019.
Okay.
And it was the first time I wanted to try it just because I had done the restaurant situation. I was at a level of being an executive chef and, you know, I wanted to try something new, kind of expand my horizons. I was looking to move back to California after spending a good 13 years in New York.
Wow.
And I felt like, okay, let me try this out. So a recruiter had, you know, introduced me to some clients. I spent some time in the Hamptons, obviously, with billionaires, and it was a fun situation where I didn't have to worry about a staff of 17 people, you know, or 20 people, or whatever the case may be. All the P&Ls and the financials and all of that. It was like, here's your client, cook great food, they'll enjoy it, and
Here's your paycheck.
yeah. And
But did it
was
almost
pretty-
make it harder that you didn't have staff because you really had to do everything?
I mean, I'm a mercenary, so I will work. I'm okay with cooking.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I'm not one of those chefs who have gotten to a point where I need to delegate all the work to. I'm definitely a person I work smarter, not harder,
Sure.
but I love cooking. So I'm not going to feel comfortable trusting someone else to do the job if I can do it myself. And if I can do it, I'll do it.
Right.
So
Right.
for me, I love it.
And you're okay. So I know you're wrapped in NDAs, so we can't say who you've worked for. And honestly, the one that I know, I feel like if we say the name, literally air troopers are going to break through this building and suck us out.
Yeah.
Have you had good clients? Are they nice to you?
Oh,
Have you had
amazing.
nightmare?
I've had nightmare clients.
You've had both.
Amazing clients. I'm very blessed to say the majority have been amazing.
Really?
Yeah. And you know, with those clients comes cooking for other people, presidents and, you know, high officials and other A-list celebrities, athletes and so forth. So,
Right.
you know, it's, yeah, like you're saying, you know, we can't mention the names necessarily, but if you can only imagine, it's
Top
the top
tier.
of the top.
Top, tippy top. What constitutes a nightmare situation? Like, have you had someone throw the plate across the room or like spit in your face?
No, I think more just, you know, when you get to a certain level of wealth, or maybe it's not even the wealth aspect, but that level of entitlement,
Totally.
like, people don't care.
Right.
You know, like whether you're a good cook or what it is. Like your opinion doesn't matter, nothing. It's just them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of negativity,
Right.
you know, and people
Right.
can be mean and like very, very bad people.
And you're just like sweating in the kitchen trying to make their
well, you're
fucking.
like, I work so hard for this, and you're like,
Wow.
it's shit, it's garbage. I don't even want to eat it, you know. But you know, those type of clients.
That's mental illness.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
definitely mental illness.
So you and I have both worked for both million and billionaires, and I do feel like there's kind of this saying that the millionaires tend to be way ruder than the billionaires.
Yeah.
The billionaires are kind of like tits out,
Mm-hmm.
just make me
Yeah.
a hamburger and I'm set.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say when
Wow.
you get to that level, you know, some clients, especially like even one I have right now, you know, isn't picky. You know, it's not, I need foie gras and caviar and the gold leaf and all that. It's like very comforting.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I get it. You know, you've had all that. You've
Right.
been through it. And yeah, it's great at certain times, but it's not the everyday meal.
No,
you know?
no.
I mean, there's no denying we all love, like you're saying, a great mashed potato.
Oh.
Like, come on. You
I don't know how much butter or cream you put in those, but woo. Okay, so with every episode, I do a little bit of word association.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you 5 words, or actually, we're doing 4 words this time.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Anything. It can be a person, place, phrase, whatever.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Chiffonade,
Basil.
ratatouille,
Ooh, great movie.
Emerald Lagasse,
Bam!
My Little Pony.
Genuine.
There we go. There we go. Okay, I want to know, is it a prerequisite that you have to have tattoos to be a chef? I have never met a chef with no tattoos.
Oh, that's a good one. I think it comes hand in hand, especially in this day and age.
Right.
But if I could be honest with you, I wish I had no tattoos.
You are not the first person that has said this to me recently. I have a friend who is tatted for the gods all over the place. And he was like, honestly, if someone offered me to press a button and they would all disappear, I'd consider it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the tattoos that I have, but I think there's nothing better than a clean body.
Right.
You know, and, you know, we're young, we make decisions, and like tattoos, you know, removing them is not like the coolest option either.
Yeah, it seems pretty painful.
Yeah,
They're like
from what I hear.
singeing your
Yeah,
skin. Oh,
And I don't hate them enough to do that.
right.
But I also think it was a time where, you know, I don't regret it, but I'm also like, it would have been a good idea probably.
To maybe not. Do you have like a
maybe
tramp stamp or something?
No tramp stamp.
Okay.
Like I have my mom's birthday on my wrist. I have some 18th century Japanese scripture on my back.
Sure.
You know, things that actually mean something, but I just love the appeal of like
None.
none.
I've never gotten one. I always said if I were to get one, this is probably the trashiest thing about me. I would get the word bacteria on the inside of my lip. And I interviewed a tattoo artist and he was like, go fuck yourself. That's disgusting. But yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like there's also something about, do chefs love pain? There's
That's a
kind of like
great
the
question.
sadistic.
Well, I think, you know, from being burned so many times and like holding hot plates every day, you
Yeah.
just become accustomed to it. for
Totally.
sure.
Totally.
But I don't know. I think there's a level of certain pain that everyone likes.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So yeah, I would say, yeah.
There's a little bit in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, also, I want to apologize. This damn microphone is really just having a
okay.
bad day.
I don't mind holding it.
It's taken a day off. Ugh.
There we go.
So, what is a typical day like? Hello? What does a typical day look like for you when you are with a client? Like, what are your hours? Are you buying groceries day of? Like, what's the prep?
Yeah. So generally, I'll make menus either the night before or the morning of, send them over, and then we'll kind of go over them.
Okay.
And then come to a menu, and then depending on what it is, I'll shop for it and then prep it out, have that ready, and then go to the client's house, and then execute the dinner, and then clean up and go home.
Wow.
So it's not
So
difficult.
how long is that?
It can depend. Sometimes I'll create a lot of menus in advance, prep things 3 days out. That will take longer, if that's cooking things sous vide or, making ice creams or so forth, and then have those ready and kind of execute the final elements at the residence.
Is prepping your least favorite part? I'm going to say this, prepping is my least favorite part. Granted, I am literally making grilled cheese, but if I have to fucking make a mirepoix or whatever and put that shit, I'm not doing it. Like, I want it ready to go. Like, do you enjoy prepping?
I do. I think it's therapeutic
insane.
for me.
Okay.
In certain aspects. On a day-to-day level, I can see how it can be monotonous and like not happy, or not comforting and like pleasurable.
Right.
But I think you just get used to it after a while too, and you understand that that's the job.
Sure.
And I can say comfortably that no matter how you execute something, it's never going to be good if the prep isn't good.
Damn,
So
that's like the foundation.
It's the foundation, Like if you have a tasting menu, everyone looks at how many courses it is and they look at the final dish, but they don't really understand like all the elements that went into preparing that.
Yeah.
And hours of labor, and
That's why I hate it. Won't do it.
Yeah. But you have to love it, or else it's a double-edged sword.
Right.
It's like, how do you love this without loving that?
It's the whole process.
Yeah.
So then by the time you get home, what do you cook for yourself? Are you so over it?
No, I get asked that question a lot, and I love to cook at home personally. So,
Okay.
I tend to not half-ass it when I get home too. Wow. But because of my job and the luxuries that it allots, I have a lot of mise en place or like ready-made things like at my disposal. So it's easy for me to recreate good dishes without having to, do it from scratch all the time.
You got some prep already done. So then, are there any foods or cuisines that you don't fuck with?
No, I love all cuisines, to be honest. There's certain cuisines I haven't just gotten into.
Okay.
I would say like Ethiopian food and
Sure.
Let's say like Brazilian food I haven't really messed with.
Okay.
And those cuisines are definitely becoming more popular, but I would say those are probably a couple where I haven't ventured into that area.
Yeah.
But
it's not like you hate papayas or you hate like cottage cheese.
No,
You're an open book.
Yeah.
The palate is advanced.
Yeah.
Wow. So I also feel like there's something really hot about being a chef. Like when you were single, did you just have like a snail trail of women trying to date you and be like, you want to show me your brioche French toast?
I mean, I've kind of always had a girlfriend.
You're a serial dater.
At some point,
Okay.
But there have been times where, I've had single moments and I love them, to be honest,
Yeah.
And especially having the luxuries of like traveling the world, like living in Amsterdam, for instance. It was like, oh my God, so many beautiful women and
Lots of snail trails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't say now like it hasn't been a good run, but I've had a good run.
You've had your fun.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is one kind of like tip or trick that you could give to us plebeians that would really like elevate our cooking?
Ooh.
It can be as simple as like don't salt your water, or I feel like bring your meat to room temp is a thing, but is there kind of one thing that takes it to the next level?
I would say properly seasoning your food is a problem that I see a lot of people have.
Especially white people.
We're
the worst.
A lot of people though. I think certain cultures too. For instance, my wife's parents, they don't like to season heavily, so that tends to be under seasoning where I'm like, it could definitely use a little more salt,
Okay.
But I get
Okay.
it from a health conscious standpoint. Like certain people are like, ooh,
Hmm.
stay away from the sodium.
Well, is it good to know like what herbs work with each other? Because like sometimes when I'm seasoning something, I'm like, I'm gonna throw nutmeg in it and say a prayer and hope that it works.
Well, I think one good tip I could give, right, is whatever you're seasoning would be 2% salt for whatever weight
Okay.
that you're cooking with.
Okay.
So say your protein is 6 ounces, 2% of 6 ounces would be the proper amount of salt.
In like grams or
In
like,
grams,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So I end each episode with the same question. It's a little bit of a pivot. What do you wish more people understood about you? That can be within the context of you being a chef. That could be in the context of your journey as a human being on this planet. It can mean, whatever resonates with you.
I think that's a great question. The one thing I would hope or want everyone to understand is like I definitely put in the work to get where I am.
Mm-hmm.
From the blood, sweat, and tears to just grinding it out as a cook to having that discipline and that head down mentality where it's like you're not going to get there unless you go through all of it. The shit, right. the good parts, the bad, the everything. I see a lot of like, let's say TikTok chefs right now and like other situations where it's, about the marketing behind it or this and that. And, they've never actually worked in a restaurant or something,
Yeah.
And I don't come from that, I'm cut from a different cloth where it was like, you had to get that whole bad,
right,
good, training involved and then
it builds
learn
character. Yeah.
And, I definitely went through that whole situation to get where I am.
Oh, it's so badass. I will say about the TikTok thing, I know nothing about cooking, but sometimes I'll see videos. And again, everyone has their own taste. If they have a client who has a very particular palate, pop off. But they're making like a yogurt parfait or like a turkey sandwich, which is great. But then I've seen what you make as you have a vat of water that you're like dunking these Wagyu tenderloins in. And I'm like, this just feels different. Not that they're not capable of cooking, but I do think what you have been through really builds strength, discipline, courage, and just like a badass chef ability.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. You're a dream.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm going to need some of those mashed potatoes.